it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a collaboration with my talented friend Alison. She and I created a challenge for each other. I challenged her to create her first video in a couple years, and she challenged me to create my first ever shaker card. So here it is. I will leave all of her information below. Make sure you check out her channel and leave her some love, and then leave me a comment and let me know how you think I did with my first ever shaker card. So to recreate this card, you're going to need the Kindred Stamps Film Strip die, MFT's Picture Perfect Party Animals, and I used the lion and the giraffe stamps. I had some leftover packaging from a 6x6 paper pad that I'm going to use to hold in the shaker bits, some scrap pattern paper, and then here are some of the shaker bits that I pulled from my stash. I took a scrap piece of black cardstock and cut out the film strip die, and I'm just showing you here that we're going to do the shaker in the middle and the animals on the left and the right. I used some Canson XL watercolor paper to stamp the images onto. I used some MFT Extreme Black ink to stamp these images down, and my Misty. I used the Misty because the watercolor paper has a texture to it, the stamps were new, and they're a little bit larger. So you saw me run my hands over the stamp set, or the stamps, because sometimes they'll have a coating on them, and this helps get rid of it, and it helps the stamp take the ink better, or at least I feel like it does. I did stamp this 3 or 4 times because, again, the watercolor paper has a texture to it, and these were brand new. I'm going to now pick out the Inktense watercolor pencils that I used to color in the balloons. I'm going to show you 2 of the balloons and that's it. And I'm just going through to pick out the colors. So the ones that I used for the balloons are apple green, carmine pink, lagoon, mauve, chili red, and scarlet pink. I'll tell you about the colors that I used later on I'll just tell you now. I used golden yellow, dark chocolate, tan, iris blue for the animals. I'm only going to show you the coloring of 2 of the balloons because this is more about the shaker card than anything else. But I did want to show you how I created it. Before, when I was showing you the pattern paper, I was showing you that they have a little bit of a highlight in all the balloons, so I was going to mimic that on these balloons for the giraffe. I wanted it to all coordinate together, which is why I picked out colors that were in similar tones to the balloons. So I apologize that you really can't see the watercolor here. On the second balloon, you can see it better. Once I move my hand back, you will be able to see the color. I didn't realize how bad the lighting was. I apologize for that. And you can see there I am leaving that highlight in the center. Next, we're going to do one of the other balloons, and here you go. You can see this one a little bit better. I just kind of put down the color around where I want to leave the highlight. I'm also going to take some clean water on my brush to get the kind of like the middle part of the balloon wet so that it will be a little bit of a lighter shade. The more water, the less pigment you'll have, so it looks a little bit like lighter in the middle. And I do go in with my brush. I put a little bit more water on that because I feel like the highlight is so stark there. So I do fix that in a minute. You'll see, there I go. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of water down on there so the purple kind of moves into there, but not too much. So that's it for the balloons. You will see the end result in a little bit. Here are the pieces of the 6x6 paper pad that I cut down, or the packaging for the 6x6 paper pad that I cut down. I used my ATG gun and I'm going to put them in place. And this is my first mistake because I should have done all 4 edges. I just did the bottom, especially for the middle one where the shaker bits are going to go. And I do realize that in a minute, but I also realize that my ATG is too thick. I probably should have started with something that was a little bit more simple, say like a square. I know this is technically a square, but something that didn't, that had a larger edge or a border to it. But I didn't. I decided to start with a little bit more of a challenge for myself. And you can see that I used my honeybee glue, my precision glue, to glue that on. One of the first things that I did notice was that there was ATG over into the acetate. So you can see that right there. I do fix that. I was having a difficult time with this, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Now I'm going to have to cut down these squares a little bit so they fit in there. And this was my next problem. The lines were further away from the top and the bottom, but on the sides they were super close. So I tried to line them up best that I could on the sides so that the black line wasn't showing, but on the top and the bottom there was an even line, if that makes sense. So now I'm using that honeybee glue, which I don't know if this was the best thing to do, but I didn't really have anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. And if you see, I went in and colored in the background as well. It's a little bit darker than the background of the pattern paper that I use, but it was as close as what I had. So you're going to see it moved a little bit because of the acetate and the liquid glue. So I'm just pushing it back into place so that the top and bottom have a little bit more of an even border. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the lion. I flip it back over, and then I'm actually going to use my ink pad to put it into place. So while I'm trying to line the rest of the stuff up, let me talk to you a little bit about the challenge. So like I said in the beginning, all of Alison's information will be linked below. We were in a Facebook room and we were talking about, I guess, things that we hadn't done. And Alison had said she was trying to get her YouTube back up. I think that's kind of how it started. And for some reason, I was super brave and I said, hey, if you do a video, I'll make my first ever shaker card. And we kind of went back and forth, and since then, this is before Christmas, and we've kind of gone back and forth like, hey, do you still want to do this, or are you still up for the challenge? And I know that Tara was helping her with the editing of the video, so I'm super excited to see her first ever video. She is awesome at shaker cards. She does a lot of things for Doodles Paper Playground. She does their weekly videos, so she does shaker cards all the time. So she's probably going to, when she watches this and watches me butcher this, she's probably going to be like, oh girl, we need to talk, and I need to teach you how to do this, because this was one of my first mistakes. It's probably actually my third or fourth mistake making this, but I did not have foam tape. So these are the edges of the pop dots. I didn't think about it. I don't know why I didn't just go ahead and buy foam tape, but I didn't. And I was like, I can use this. It won't be bad. Well, it's fine for the sides because you can make the walls a little bit thicker for them. But the top and the bottom, it is so skinny because you don't want to see it with the acetate again, which is why I said I should have done just a large rectangle or a large shape, because it was difficult. So I did my best. I know that you have to butt up all the edges next to each other so that nothing can fall out. So I did make sure I did that. I think that was like the one thing that I probably did right. So here you can see me fixing it, and it wasn't really staying in place, and then you could kind of see it in the cutouts of the film strip. So again, she's probably sitting here like covering her eyes as she's watching this, or anybody who's ever done a shaker card probably is doing the same thing. So maybe this is more of a what not to do to make a shaker card, but you guys let me know in the comments. So I decided that I needed to reinforce the side. So you can see the foam tape through there. It's going to have to do. I think that it also, it's not as big of a deal maybe as I'm making it out to be. I don't know. So this piece of paper was actually a little bit too narrow because when I flip it back over, it's not going to cover the entire foam tape area. So I needed to use the other piece, which is why I brought both of them out, because I wasn't sure. And I actually, at one point, was not going to use these balloons because I thought maybe it was a little bit too busy. And I was going to use that scrap piece of watercolor paper, use the same blue that I used for the backgrounds, and then just go over that, or just put a balloon in the middle or something. I wasn't sure. I went back and forth, but I do decide to use the pattern paper. Now I'm cutting out pieces. This is all leftover pieces from a pop dot set that I had, and I got these from Michael's, I believe, and they were about $1. So completely worth the $1 that I spent, and I used pretty much all of it. I used the whole entire thing. I save these as save the scraps that you would normally throw away, because you can use them for projects like this, the larger ones. So I'm just using the cutouts, and I think this is right after this is probably where I make another mistake. But so I'm going to put the pop dots on the background, because I did know that much. I did know you had to pop the entire thing up. And then I am going to, again, fix the rest of the tape. And then I am going to check the background. And there you see that wasn't wide enough. So I actually take this piece, which was almost perfectly wide enough, and I'm going to use it to cut out the pattern paper. Instead of measuring, I just decide, hey, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use it as a template. It was a little bit too long, so I knew I was going to have to cut it down, and you'll see me this was kind of like the lazy way, so I didn't have to get up and use my paper trimmer. So I just decided to cut it out, because it doesn't have to be even. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to mark off the areas at the bottom where I need to cut it off, because I didn't cut off enough at this point. So I'm just looking to see how it's going to look all together, making sure the foam tape is in place, again, because it was coming off. It was probably because it's old, it's not as sticky as it should have been, and because they're super, super thin pieces, I think that they were a little bit too flimsy. The other mistake that I made is not using an embossing bag, embossing buddy, anything like that, or even a dryer sheet. I don't have any of that stuff. So that was my other mistake. Well, and then there's my another mistake. I picked up the shaker pieces and the bottom wasn't closed, so they went all over my desk. But thank God they were on that soldering mat, and it wasn't too difficult to clean up. It wasn't stuck to my desk. Like, if it was stuck to my desk, that would have just been disastrous. And I believe that one's from a Hero Arts kit, and then this one I believe is from maybe the toy box from Kindred Stamps, but I'm not 100% positive. It could have been from a Hero Arts one as well. So I'm going to kind of leave that to the side. I do clean that up later, but you can see they're kind of sticking to the sides already. And then here's where I make another mistake. Not pulling off this, really, the backing for this. I pulled off the backing for everything. I didn't have my card base taken out yet, so I wasn't even sure what I was going to put it onto. So I probably should have waited for that, but I was impatient, and I just decided to take the backing off of all of the foam tape. Again, that was, is this mistake like 5, 6, 7? I don't know. This video is probably full of mistakes, but I did it. I completed the card, so I'm pretty proud of myself that I did that, because this was one of the things that I had like a mental block about for some reason. So look, here you go. I'm super excited, and they're shaking, and you see me flick it. Well, duh, it's stuck up there. So I did get a card base. I just got a white card base. It's 3.5 by 8.5, I believe. And then I just put a little bit of glue on the back of those pieces, the pop dots, the leftover pop dots, because I wasn't sure if they were going to stick or not, and I wanted to make sure they did. So place that on the front of it, which is basically the same size, and the shaker bits still shake. Some of them are stuck at the top, but I did what I could do. Now I'm using my Rabbit Hole Designs Sassy Birthday to stamp the greeting on the inside. And I was a little bit brave here. I took a block and stamped the sentiment on there in the MFT Extreme Black ink. I was very daring because I've never used this stamp set before, but I didn't want to put it in the Misty because there's so much dimension. Well, that's the end of the card. I just stamped that out, and the sentiment is on the inside. It says, "Don't get all weird about getting older. It's merely the number of years the world has been enjoying you." So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave your comments and questions below. Please head over to Alison's YouTube channel. Check out her video, and I will see you guys again real soon in another video.